Yeah. Hey guys, all right, just before the show starts, I wanted to let you guys know that my fight against cancel culture is still happening. Please go to the description below. There's a link titled Support My Fight Against Cancel Culture. If you want to help my fight, please consider giving a bit of a donation. All the information is in that link. With that being said, enjoy the show. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Let's Talk. I am here tonight with Lou. Is it Lewis or Louis? I should have asked you before the show started. I'm sorry.
Louis.
Louis
Yeah.
Nell. Some of you may have seen him on Twitter. He is a program developer, I believe. I know you do
That's it.
IT, like you're a very smart man. And for those of you who may not know, Louis, sorry, was recently on White Noise podcast talking about the government app, and there was a very nice presentation that he had prepared, and they went into an in-depth analysis of the government app, which I thought was very interesting, and I recommend everybody to go and watch it. So, Louis, in your own words, tell the people who may not know who you are what you do, and give us a brief outline of that episode because I don't want to talk, I don't want to repeat it. I really want people to go and watch it on White Noise Podcast, but just give like a brief synopsis of what you guys discussed, and yeah.
Yeah. Joe, yeah, thanks first of all, thanks for inviting me for this chat. So it's really good to be here and to talk with you. Yeah, so I'm a software developer, basically someone that solve problems for a living and write code. And um, code is a solution to a problem or it solves an issue that someone might have. So in my day-to-day work, I have to just come up with solutions to other people's problems.
About the app as well.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, well, just a brief synopsis of what you guys discussed.
okay, so about 2 weeks ago, on the White Noise podcast with Carter, we did a full breakdown, a technical breakdown of the government's COVID Alert SA app, which is the contact tracing app for COVID-19 in South Africa. It's the only official sanctioned one by the government, and it uses the Apple and Google API. That's the exposure notification service, which is baked into the operating system, and then it uses that service. So we did a full rundown of the app, and we actually reverse engineered the source code, and we went into the bits and pieces that make up the app and the software. So I would definitely recommend people, if you want a more technical rundown of what is in that app, then you should definitely watch that episode.
Yes, and I see that Yanni has put the link in the chat. So thank you very much, Yanni, for that. I will add the link as well after the show's done to the description. Yeah, and again, great presentation. You guys had slides and everything, and you brought up some concerns as well. And yeah, I think it was a great episode. So please, guys, go check it out. And I just want to address some people. Morabani is here. Rob Dugan, for those of you who don't know, he's saying hi. Nice haircut. Are you talking about me or Louis? I don't know.
Definitely you.
It's definitely me. Amy is here. Eleutheria, Beth is here. Corle is here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hendo is also here. Hi guys. So thank you all so much for tuning in and watching. Now, just so you guys know, Louis' Twitter handle is, or Twitter profile is in the description below. So please go give him a follow and check him out on Twitter. And sometimes the chats do get busy, so if you want me to see a question and you really want the answer, then please use the super chat function. I, by law, apparently, by YouTube law, have to address it. So that's the way to get your picture, your picture, I don't know why I said that, to get your comments seen. But we will have a section at the end, towards the end, to look at questions and comments. All right, Louis. So I brought you on the show again because I didn't want to go into another in-depth analysis. You've done that already. But there was something that you touched on the White Noise podcast, which you mentioned now, which was, I don't know how many people have noticed this, but updates now on your phone. I don't know about Android. I have iOS. On my iOS, I'm going to pop it up now. There was an update, I think maybe, a month or two after COVID hit. Some of you may have noticed this on your iOS. I don't know if it looks the same on Android. The exposure notifications. This is embedded. This is in your phone. It's not an app that you download extra. It comes with the update, basically. And you mentioned that the app needs this to basically work, if I'm not mistaken. Can you tell us a bit more about this?
Okay, so you're 100% right, Joe. So from the iOS point of view, so any iOS version after 13.5 and Android version 6 and up will have that update present in the operating system. So what they've done is they've actually built a framework that handles all the heavy lifting of the app. So it handles all the notifications and the sending and receiving of data. So yes, that is underlying and it's part of your actual phone. And the app is just a bolt on top of that. So Apple and Google have only allowed verified governmental or health providers to then use their service. So it has to be an approved app by government or an organization that can actually use their service. So yeah, you're 100% correct.
And if this exposure notification thing isn't on the phone, therefore the app cannot function. I just want to make that clear. All right.
Correct.
But how does that exposure notification, so it just gives it access, like it just feeds certain data to the app? Is that what it is?
Yes. So because it's developed by the manufacturer, it has direct access to the phone's functionality. So it handles the Bluetooth communication. So we get into that on the other technical breakdown. Your phone with this app will send a Bluetooth beacon every few seconds to other devices with the app installed to say that it is present. So it handles all of that communication between phones, and then also the data that's sent and received from Google and from Android. Google and Apple to the phone. So it's almost like the engine of the app, and then the actual app, which the government has developed, our app, is then just the user interface or
see. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
All right.
It just sits on top of that functionality.
Yeah, because I noticed that you can still switch it off. Like you can go into your settings, you can tell it to switch that function off, which I guess gives a bit of security to people. And I don't know how many people have actually downloaded the app. I don't know who's actually tried the app. I know that you and Carter are experimenting, if I can put it a bit like that. Tell us briefly about that.
Yes, so we've installed it I've been running for almost 2 weeks now. So there you can see it. I've got an Android phone. The notifications feature and Bluetooth is currently switched off, so it actually complains about it. The app will not work unless that is turned on. So Bluetooth and location on, and then let's just refresh that. Yeah, now it's back up and running. It hasn't been super exciting as yet because I haven't received any COVID notifications yet from any potential exposures. It also has an alert function, so if you test positive, then you can voluntarily submit your disclose that you've been exposed, and then you submit it with that feature there.
Careful, your finger's
So-
getting really close to that screen.
should we test
No,
it?
unless there's something you're not telling us.
No. Well, so I mean, yeah. So we're just gathering data and walking around and going to places where we could potentially see what it does. I mean, it hasn't seen anything from what we've seen, anything malicious or super interesting as yet. We need more data, and we need for it to be around more devices to to really see what it does.
Does it have ads? I'm just curious.
No, not at all. No ads. The funny thing is, it's completely white labeled, so you can't even see who the manufacturer is. On the app stores, it just says it's the Department of Health. So, I mean, whoever developed it for them, I'm not really sure. One rumor I heard on a tech chat group was that Discovery was actually involved with this app, unconfirmed. Interestingly enough, also read something that in May there was a prototype precursor to this app that the University of Cape Town was developing in conjunction with the SA government, and it was going to be called COVID ID, but this app actually never took off for some reason. I couldn't actually find much about it online, just the fact that it was in the pipeline. But it seems that a lot of governments and territories around the world tried to first develop an app from scratch on their own steam, and then actually they didn't get far, and then Google and Apple stepped in with the exposure framework to simplify the whole development process. Or you could say they try to monopolize the market, and then all these tech companies or people that were pitching for business, then it could only be a certified person that could then develop the app to interface with the framework. So depends on how you look at it.
All right. Well, I do want people to go check out the White Noise podcast channel to see the results, because I believe that you are doing this for about a month. I believe you guys said a month that you were going to just have the app on, see what it does, gather some information, and then look at it again and dissect what information is there. So please, guys, again, I will leave the White Noise channel link in the description as well after the show. But let's get into a bit of this exposure setting on our phone, right? Because that to me is a bit concerning. Do you think there's a concern for it? Because I mean, what happens when I mean, eventually we're going to get a vaccine, hopefully, or we're just, this whole thing is a pandemic comes and it passes, right? And let's not get into, whether it's a scam-demic or whatever. Let's just, for hypothetical purposes, right? Let's say this is a pandemic. We're using tech to help us, tell or control or help, get the numbers, who's been exposed, who's not been exposed, blah, 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 blah. My concern is what happens afterwards, right? Are these tech companies going to actually take it off? Are they not going to take it off? Perhaps that's hard and difficult to answer. Have you explored this exposure feature to see what exactly it entails? I know you said it gathers information and it helps, the app and stuff like that, but is there anything to be concerned about? I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
Joe, yeah, that's a great question, because the crux here is the exposure notifications portion of the operating system is not open source, so we can't actually get the source code and look at it. It's owned by those companies. So, I mean, it would be worthwhile trying to reverse engineer it as well and have a look at what it does. But no, not actually. We don't actually know exactly what it does. There is some documentation available about it, but it's, I mean, that stuff is only shared with the authorized developers that develop these authorized and sanctioned apps. So, yeah, that is a great question. I mean,
well, it kind of makes sense though, because I mean, if you kind of if there was that information out there, then there would be like a lot of other companies that would kind of just replicate it and try and also jump on that bandwagon and try and make some money. So I guess that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So I guess only time will tell with that one. Do you think?
This,
Yeah, no, go ahead.
sorry. The scary thing is that they could realistically put that code into the operating system without us knowing. So it could become part of your operating system and not a separate feature. So that is a possibility. And they could justify it as preventative for an upcoming epidemic or something similar.
Sure.
If and they could put it in the terms and conditions. So when you install the application, that you opt into it. So there are many possibilities.
The terms and conditions that nobody reads.
Exactly. Have you heard of those Easter eggs where they put a prize or a bounty in the terms and conditions for someone that actually does read it? Some people have actually won money and prizes for just reading through them. Yeah.
So like on Apple or just like
random software that you install on your machine. If you actually read through those long terms and conditions, it could be any software. So
wow, I'm gonna start reading now.
I haven't actually, but yeah, it's just
I wonder
nice
if that's true. That's cool.
Apparently that is true. Yes.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, but I think maybe for anyone who's downloading the app, I've seen already in the comments someone say I'm not downloading the app. I don't think anyone's really forcing you. It's not a law that you have to download it. But I would highly recommend reading the terms and conditions. If there are terms and conditions with the app, right?
Installing it, there wasn't. Well, on the Apple, because we're only testing on the Android app. You grant the initial permission, so that's basically your terms and conditions where you say, okay, you allow this app to use certain portions of your phone. So it needed, I think there were 5 permissions. We covered that in the other presentation. It's stuff like your Bluetooth, your location, network access. The phone doesn't sleep; it keeps awake for alerts, and there was something else as well. So, yeah, but I suppose there are longer terms and conditions as well. I haven't actually read them, and I think if you actually install it, you do accept those extended terms.
Yeah,
that is actually a concern, and we should actually look. Oh wait, there is a privacy policy on the app, so yeah. Oh wait, it says here Discovery Limited developed the app software on behalf of the National Department of Health.
Well, there you go. Now it's been confirmed.
It helps you read the terms.
Yeah. All right. So I do have a question here that I want to address. There's 2 of them. There's this one. Jason Babb was asking, can Lewis tell us what his experience is specifically, what sort of development he has done, and does he have InfoSec penetration testing experience and history? That sounds very dirty. Is that real, or is this guy just trolling? Because the penetration part is concerning.
Okay, so the first part, yes, I'm a software developer in web-based technologies. So I primarily program in JavaScript on the Node.js stack. So it's they call it the mean stack: MongoDB, Express, Angular, and Node.js. And it's JavaScript is the programming language on the front and back end. I don't program in native app languages. So most of our stuff is web-based. I do have some experience in InfoSec. So what he's referring to is info security. So it's basically the auditing and security concerns surrounding IT and infrastructure. So yes, I have basic knowledge of that. I'm not a specialist in InfoSec, and I'd actually like to, and I've asked other IT professionals and people specializing in InfoSec to please weigh in on this and to also analyze the app and give critique based on what I've said so far. So yes, I'm very open to collaborations or criticism or advice or anything along those lines. So yeah, we should share and collaborate.
Fantastic. Yeah, I just wanted to clear that up. And someone else asking here says, this is Christoph Razor. I think that's how you pronounce that. He says, is it a part of the operating system or cannot be refused? If you refuse the update, can you not operate your device? Is this blackmail? Yeah, it is part of the updates from an iOS and I think Android as well. It's like, when you have an operating system update, it comes. Like you download the update, it's part of the update. Again, on iOS, I don't know about Android, you can switch it off. And I see that you also commented, like, if how sure are you that the option to switch off is not a placebo? You just have to, yeah. But again, you said that this thing, the exposure setting, can't operate without the app anyway, right?
Yes, yeah.
And there you go.
Yes, it needs something. It has to be switched on manually, and then it needs another app to interface with it.
All right. So what I also wanted to talk to you about on the show is, I think there's been a lot of debate about this app and about the exposure settings and all that stuff. You were kind enough to prepare and talk about this. I asked you, are there other options? Is this an app that we really need? Is this really the way to go? People are asking things like, why do we download the app now when we're going into summer and it's like the peak is now dropping? We've gone past that. Some people are talking about a second wave, but we're not sure. Yeah. So, in your opinion, what do you think? Is there other options?
Well, let's talk about it a bit broader first. I mean, the question of timing, and then I'll get to your actual question, Joe.
Sure, no problem.
That a lot when Google and Apple released this exposure notifications framework, it was in April at sort of beginning of May, and we only have a working app now in September. I mean, so we've already flattened the curve. So why do we need this app in the first place? If that was, that was the purpose of the lockdown, is the purpose, because it's still ongoing. 201 days in, we're still living with restrictions. So, the second argument for this app is that it reduces the human overhead when it comes to contact tracing, because you don't need so much human resources to track and trace people. So the problem here is that this app relies on people installing it. So, for it to be effective, we need a big percentage of South Africans to actually install it. And from what I've seen, estimates, they reckon you need at least 60% uptake for it to be really effective. And even smaller countries like Ireland and Switzerland have only had about 35 to 40% uptake. So it's not that great in terms of the amount of prevention that it actually does. So, are there other options? The old-fashioned way? Contact tracing. What's wrong with that? And also the pandemic has passed. So, what is the purpose of now trying to, what are we preventing? What are we, so we have to just question those motives. In terms of other solutions, I can't really think of anything else. And the question we should be asking is, why do we need a solution? Do we need a solution in the first place? So we've already bought into the idea that we need something now. So this app is fine, or whatever else, we get shown. But do we actually need a solution? If the problem has passed, we don't actually need a solution.
Yeah, that's actually true. I didn't actually think of it that way. Yeah, because I think the biggest concern for people, and I'm seeing some of the people in the comments asking this as well, like, is the whole security aspect of it. Like people are worried that maybe some of the information that's being shared on these apps or the app and this update, how they say like, oh yeah, it's just gonna like look at you, like where you are, and if you get contacted or whatever. But what else is it sharing? We don't know. And like you just mentioned earlier, there's certain aspects of the one side of it that you can't see, and that's concerning. So on the one hand, you need transparency so that people can trust the technology, but on the other hand, there seems to be a barrier. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the dilemma was that, countries like China and other oppressive regimes, they just went full on surveillance on
Yes.
their people. So obviously Western European and Western cultures are very opposed to that. Especially Americans with all the Snowden leaks and that. So they had to find a way around it to try and sell this to the public.
Yeah,
So, the first thing is, if you look at the name of that exposure notifications framework, it's also quite a nice spin on it, because it's actually contact tracing, but contact tracing sounds a bit heavy to sell to people. So if you soften it a bit to exposure notifications, then it sounds like it's a personal benefit. If you run that app, it'll alert you personally, so you're doing your part, and it's all about saving lives and flattening the curve and stuff. So it changes the whole narrative around it. It's interesting if we look at what other Western countries have done as well. I don't know, just briefly, the UK's has got the NHS has got a COVID-19 app. They also built one or two in advance, and then they scrapped it to partner with this framework, the exposure notifications framework. And I don't know if you've seen, but to gain access to places, they actually have to scan in with QR codes and track where they are. So you're actually not allowed to go into places without scanning on the app.
Yeah, thank goodness. I don't think that's implemented here yet.
No. I don't know if we'll go that far, especially because we don't have, in terms of our mobile phone demographic, I don't think. It just wouldn't work yet. Because we've got so many people with feature phones that don't have smartphones. So that's not really feasible.
Yeah. And so you mentioned earlier, you mentioned some countries that have not experimented, but they've tried to implement this exposure app and all that. Yeah, the numbers you mentioned seemed quite low. It seems like a lot of people also have the same concerns. It seems like like you said, a Western thing. Do you know what the numbers are in China? Like how many people have actually embraced the app?
No, I don't actually have stats on that. By the sounds of it, they took a combined approach. So they've got the app, but they've also got full-on cellular tracking and purchase tracking of credit cards and CCTV surveillance. So it's a combination of traditional surveillance and then cell phone tracking. But I don't have any numbers on China, unfortunately. Some interesting stats on the US is that because healthcare is so localized in the US, there's only 11, from what I could find online, there's only 11 of the 57 states and territories that actually have a working app a tracking app at the moment in the US. So they're very divided around whether it's a good thing, and because it's from a state point of view, the local territories had developed their own thing, but they're not sanctioned now to use the framework. So they actually have to abandon the development and then wait for the central authority to say, okay, we'll use this app.
And do you think, in your opinion, are there any faults with the app?
Well, so far it's really drained my battery because I didn't do much on my phone today, and it's already at 49%. So yeah, it uses Bluetooth low energy. So since about 2010, the latest Bluetooth protocol that was developed, and all the iPhones have it from about iPhone 4 and up, and any Android about after 2010 will also have it. Your Bluetooth uses low energy, so it's not supposed to drain your battery as much. But now this app sends a ping every couple of seconds, so there's a lot of Bluetooth functionality working. There's network activity. I mean, the app stays awake in the background. So I mean, so far the drawback is this thing is really taxing on my phone. So I mean, we all know how precious it is to have battery life. So you wouldn't want to be stuck somewhere and then you can't actually turn this thing off. So it's still going to run in the background. You can turn the exposure notifications framework off, but then the app is still actually running in the background, but it just won't send the communications. So I think the whole idea of the Bluetooth tracking is a good idea because it's supposed to sell this idea that you're not being tracked, even though the app still uses location settings. And in our other breakdown or teardown of the app, we actually saw that there's a function in there to get the last known location and the network that you're on. So get the network credentials of the cell phone or the Wi-Fi network that you're on. So there's some form of tracing in there. Some people have disagreed with me on this and said that it's not actually implemented, but the functionality is in the code. So whether it's executed or not, it is available and it is there. Yeah, we are obviously gathering data and stuff, and we'll do a follow-up presentation next week where we actually go through data and dive into what we found so far. So I don't want to give too much away yet.
No, absolutely, I understand. But I think a lot of people are concerned even now with the security of the app and stuff like that, because that is a big discussion. And I'm just following here in the comments, and some say that apparently Marcus Mengs on Twitter, as well as InfoSec security experts working at Senate, have actually said that basically what you're saying is incorrect, that it is safe and that it is secure, it's secure and all that stuff. But again, for those of you that are watching this, go and watch the White Noise podcast, where there is a complete presentation. You pull up the code, even like you mentioned now, a code. You pull it up and you say, cool, this is what it does, this is the function, blah, blah, blah. And like you just said, it may not be necessarily working, but it is there. And I remember you were also asking, like, I think you brought up a code once and you were like, I don't understand why this is there. You also mentioned some faults. Maybe just to give people a reason to go watch the White Noise podcast. What was that security issue that you guys were talking about? Because you did mention there was kind of a big one. And I'm trying to remember off the top of my head what that specifically was, but it was basically something that usually is put into an app that apparently every app needs to have to protect some kind of security feature or whatever. But you couldn't find that code in the app. Do you remember?
I'm just looking through the
Sorry,
slides
I know
now.
I'm springing this onto you. This wasn't part of the conversation, so I
No, no.
apologize. Um,
There was just some bugs and okay, so the security flaws.
yeah, there we go.
Yeah, that stuff is a bit technical, so I don't know if we should talk about it now. But it was just the so I mean we could decompile the code or reverse engineer it because it wasn't using the native libraries of the device, and it was okay. So there was some unsafe file deletion. I know Marcus Mings has disagreed with me on some of this because he says that it is not such a hectic violation, but I mean we just putting it out there and giving all the possibilities. So there were some screenshots and screen sharing stuff so that attackers or hackers can read screenshots from your phone. There was some when you have multiple apps open that you have apps open in the background that the app doesn't blur the apps in the background, so that's a security risk because the attacker can then screenshot and get sensitive information that wasn't intended. The data storage on the device or the database base isn't encrypted, so that isn't a massive vulnerability, but it is there. And then there was a big security flaw with action intent. So the app does allow or give access to other apps. So the app is open. It gives access to the exposure notifications framework to operate, but it doesn't specify. It doesn't ring fence or just say which apps can interface with it. So there is scope for other apps that aren't authorized to then hook into it, which is a massive concern. You should actually just go through that and then read it because I don't want to bore people now with some technical.
We gave them like that's the kind of stuff that you guys were discussing. And if you want any more detail on that, please go watch the podcast. I just want to address it just in case other viewers may be thinking the same thing. Again, as you said, this is, it's not like you just said, like it's not major flaws, but they're concerning. And if they're concerning, then they should be addressed, which is also something you guys mentioned in your podcast. I remember you mentioned in the podcast, like we're hoping that this, will bring some light, and maybe that the developers will, in the next update, address it. That's really it. So hopefully we can now make that clear as well. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry, no, I was just wanting to say that from a testing point of view, we've only really ripped it apart and looked at the code, and some of the other security guys have run it in emulators and on their machines and stuff, but we haven't. The difference is when you do real world testing with the app on your phone and you look at the data that gets sent and decrypt that stuff. The positive thing about the app is that the information is encrypted, so it is secure. So you have to actually decrypt the information that is sent. So I mean, we don't know what it does when it actually there is an exposure notification, or if you are in contact with someone, and we need to know what happens in that contact situation. No one has data on that because all the tests so far are just in a machine in isolation.
Yeah, exactly. They're not like practically tested in a sense in the real world situation, which is actually a very good point. Again, like, you'll be doing an unpacking of that, and we'll see. Maybe there is nothing to worry about. But at the end of the day, that's what people are concerned about. Like, should we be worried? Should we? I mean, at the end of the day, and here's the thing: I'm going to be honest about this. It's an app from the government. I don't care who developed it. I don't care. Who was it? Discovery? They made it?
Yes,
Yeah.
Discovery, yeah.
I don't care. I really don't. Like, I, for me, government, the ANC, has shown me that they aren't trustworthy. I mean, ESCOM, that's one example. So I don't want to download an app. I'm sorry, but I don't. I'll say it outright. I don't trust it. What I was concerned about, which you've given me a bit of reassurance, is when in that update now on the phone with the exposure thing, apparently it doesn't do anything unless you have the app. So for those of you that are worried about that update, as far as I understand, and as far as we can tell, because of the information that's out there and because of what we can see, that little extra thing that comes with that exposure setting that comes with the update, unless you have the app, nothing to worry about. Correct? Cool.
That sounds about right.
Cool. And again, it's up to you guys if you guys want to download the app. I don't know. I'll wait and see. I'm gonna watch your follow up with the test in real life, and see how it is. Just out of curiosity, have you thought of maybe asking a friend or someone that you know that's downloaded the app to come to your house and maybe put the phones next to each other just to like see if anything happens?
I have, but there's no one else that wants to install this phone. I mean, this app on their phone. So I have to rely on just going out in public for testing and walking around and going to
Are you
public
gonna hold the
places.
phone to people and be like, "Can you just?"
They might freak out. But I mean, I don't know if there's a database or everything's so private. So I mean, if we could actually know where infections were, it would help to go there and try and get
Yeah,
exposed.
but then you're putting yourself
It would
at
help with
risk.
testing. Yes. The other interesting thing is if we're able to then decrypt the network. I mean, okay, so even if we are able to then see what the app sends up and down and decrypt it, that still doesn't make it a security risk if the information that gets sent isn't private stuff. So that's what we need to get to, is to see what gets sent.
Exactly.
So so apparently it only sends the date and time of if they're in exposure, it only sends the date and time of your interaction, the distance between devices or persons, and then the amount of time that you were in contact. So
Yeah, that's interesting.
that is so the how they do that is the Bluetooth signal then deteriorates over distance. So they try and measure the on the receiving end how much it has deteriorated, and then they work out the distance between the devices. The interesting thing is there's a very cool study done by two Irish guys at the Trinity College in Dublin, two computer scientists. So they did a study on public transport. They used one of those double-decker buses in the UK. Well, they were in Ireland, but it's the same bus. And then they actually had people with these phones on them, and they used the Irish tracking app. And from their results, they actually could see that there were anomalies in the transmission of the Bluetooth signals, because they say a bus or a public or any public transport for that matter is something, it has very unpredictable acoustics. So the Bluetooth waves actually reflect off the metal surfaces. So they were getting false positives, or not, where they should have gotten notifications, they wouldn't get anything because the signal was actually distorted. So it's a very interesting academic paper on that. They actually did two. I've just read through the first one. But so it questions also if Bluetooth contact tracing is that effective, especially in a public setting, such as public transport. And we know that South Africa, a majority of our population relies on public transport. So in something like a minibus taxi, how effective would this app actually be in terms of contact tracing?
That's a really good point and fascinating. It actually, now I'm trying to wrap my head around this as well. So you were speaking now about Bluetooth and the communication between the two, between a phone and another phone, right? So let's say I've been affected with the virus, all right? I now go on my phone and I say, "Cool, I've been infected." Does it then go back in time to see like if someone else has the, like, for example, let's say you and I just went to a braai over the weekend, and you weren't, I didn't get it from you, but I had it, and then I found out on the Monday, oh crap, I'm infected. I say I'm infected. Will you then get a notification saying you were in proximity with someone that had COVID?
Yeah, so it actually stores. So it what your phone transmits is a generated ID. They call it a random ID, but it contains pretty random information according to them. And your phone will then store all the IDs that it had received from different devices for, I think it's 14 or 16 days. And then if that person then alerts that they've had it, then it will check all the IDs that were related to them. See, that's the question. How does it know? How does it know? Because that person then has to submit. The Department of Health will give them a code to enter into this app, but it somehow that will associate them with that, and then it'll notify all the people, all the devices that have those IDs stored on the phone. So there is a link between the device and those IDs somehow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
but it's supposed to be anonymous, so it shouldn't be linked to any personal details. It should be
it should be
anonymous.
So in other words, if I say I have an alert, or I'm infected, then you should get, in theory, you should also get a notification. Hey, you've recently been exposed.
Yeah, and it also relies on that person reporting it. So if they don't say anything, then this app doesn't do anything.
Yeah, but you see, now that's the other thing, right? So if I get infected, right, and I don't know, for whatever reason, okay, it's difficult to put this in practice or to explain this. So what I'm thinking is, right, if I'm infected, I don't know that I'm infected, right? You only know because apparently the virus only shows like 2 weeks in or something after it lays dormant sometimes, and sometimes your ACE is like it's with you, but you don't know that you even have it. So, or it's very mild. It's not hectic, so it's just like a common flu. So some people might just weather it out, and then like it's a normal. You have a bit of the sniffles. I've heard this. People have the sniffles. They get a little bit sick. They just bunker down for a week or two. And they're fine. They don't get tested, So now you're someone who had it but doesn't know that they had it, and you're walking around. So the app is actually pointless. I mean, regardless now of security, let's leave that out of the equation. I'm trying to figure out how reliable really is this app.
It relies on self-disclosure and on people opting in. So there's a lot of variables for this to work well. So yeah, if that answers your question, it's very limited in scope, and it can only see a portion of it. I mean, with any technology, what if you put rubbish in, you'll get rubbish out. So if you put good data in, you'll get good data out.
Yeah.
You won't get anything out from it unless you start with that input.
So I guess the only way that it really may be useful is is for you to get notified on the off chance that someone is honest and says I've been infected. But then again, that's the same situation. You have to rely on other people to be honest about that. And I'm not saying that people won't be honest, but at the same time, again, there's that situation where people don't know that they had it, you know? And there's been a few cases like that.
Sure.
So yeah, it's
Exactly.
a bit of a,
Exactly.
yeah, I don't know.
That's the thing, and that's why we've seen some marketing drives behind this app, because you actually need buy-in from people. So you need to hype them up and get them excited. I think actually, if this thing launched in the middle of the main lockdown, when everyone was still very scared and very frightened and stuff, and there was still corona hysteria, then we would have seen a bigger uptake.
Yeah,
But
that
I
makes
think
sense.
the timing is a bit off. Just interestingly, there's some cool stats. The Irish app, I think their population's not Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland. There's 4 point something million people. They, I think they've only, through their app, up until the end of October, they've only had 800 alerts sent out on that app. So, I mean, that's the sort of output that you get from a 40% buy-in of 4 something million people, only 800 notifications. So that's really low.
That is very low.
So,
Jeez.
yeah.
Again, and I guess this was the point of this conversation. Is one of the things I asked you is it really worth it to download this app? I mean, should people be downloading this app? I mean, let's again put away the security. Let's pretend the security function is spot on, right? There are no flaws. It's perfect. Everything about you is protected. In practice, I don't know. I'm not convinced. I'm sorry, but I'm not. And what would be your opinion on that?
I wouldn't have installed it if it weren't for this study. So I agree. No, yeah, it's. I mean, it's everyone has free will and choice, so you have to make up your mind. But if it were me, I wouldn't install it. No, except for scientific research.
Which is what you're doing. Yeah. Yeah. Again, like I haven't seen a hard argument to tell that will make me go like, okay, I need to download this app. I mean, like we said before, the whole point of the lockdown was to be isolated, prevent the exposure with everyone and stuff like that. The peak is gone, it's down, we're going down. They're talking about a second wave, but we can debate that. We're not going to, but and we're going into summer, which apparently during summer, this virus doesn't survive in summer very well. So, the timing, all that stuff, for me right now, I don't know. If, again, I'm willing to say that I'm wrong if I'm wrong, and if there is a real second wave, and like say COVID is still with us next year in winter, and yeah, maybe then I'll download the app. I don't know, but for right now, I can't think of a really good reason to do so, because I think there is a very big human flaw in all this. And I mean, like, something else that I think we also need to bring up is not everyone has a phone. Not everyone has an Android. Not everyone has an iOS or a smartphone. I mean, there are a large portion of the population that do, but there's a lot of people that just still have their old, like, text and call phones, and those don't come with
Nokia
that.
3310.
Yeah, like those don't come with those functions, So again, what to get stats on that would be also very interesting. To see which portion of the population actually has smartphones, and of that portion of the population, which ones actually downloaded the app. Because there is a very big, part of the population that just don't have smartphones. So yeah. Out of curiosity, is the app available on iPad or tablet or anything like that?
Yes. Well, if it's an Android or an Apple or iOS tablet, then if you have the App Store installed on the device, then it is available on that device. I haven't actually installed it on a tablet, to be honest. Definitely the Play Store will be. iOS might limit it to certain devices, but usually you can also install it on a tablet through the App Store
Yeah.
on both devices. Yes.
Yeah. Everyone it seems to be also talking about the battery power thing. Look, to be honest, like battery power doesn't surprise me if. Again, it's one of those things like when you just as a tech guy, I like tech. Yanni's in the comments. He knows we talk about tech all the time. We're actually going to have a conversation soon about iOS versus Android, and
Cool.
yeah. So I'm iOS, he's Android, and you know, something that a lot of people talk about is like battery life, and everyone's always concerned about battery life and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's like, well, it depends on how you use your phone. You know, if you constantly have apps open throughout the day and you're using your phone like every second and you really tax your phone, obviously the battery's not going to last as long. There are some phones that will last maybe a bit longer because of the efficiency of the battery. But for the most part, if you use your phone a lot, battery is going to go down. That's how it works. And especially if you don't quit your apps. The background app feature is not switched off. That drains battery. There's so many apps that do drain battery in the background of your phone. And yeah, so to me, it's not surprising that that app does drain battery. I'm sorry. Like, it makes sense. Like any app that works in the background, it's going to do that. So yeah.
Yeah, and anything where you have bad signal where it tries to reconnect to the network also drains battery, because your phone then boosts the battery up extra to try and strengthen the signal and to try and hook into your the cell phone network or a Wi-Fi network or something. So yeah, any Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, GSM phone call, anything that sends a signal, then that'll drain your battery. And your screen, if your screen's on, that's also like one of the biggest battery drainers around.
Exactly. All right, so we're approaching the hour, and I want to keep these shows to an hour because I want people to watch this. I hope that we enlighten some people. Again, I'll say this again. Look, this isn't to scare people. This isn't to like tell you not to or to download the app. I wanted to have an honest conversation with someone who is very concerned as well about this app and who's actually researching the app. Someone who's not mainstream, if I can put it that way, and is actually investing time to get to just do his own research and find out. You know, Louis, you've never said, you know, to people, you know, this app is the worst freaking thing that ever landed in our laps. You say that there are some concerns that you have, and you hope that these concerns will be heard by the developers, and hopefully they'll fix it. That's it. And you're doing it for science. And I can respect that, and I hope people also respect that. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, please go and subscribe to White Noise Podcast to get a follow-up on the research that is currently happening between Louis and Carter. Very excited to see the next episode. And again, if you haven't seen the first one, please go check it out. And having said that, I just want to also correct myself because I misspoke, and I'm terribly sorry. To Yanni Vandervalt, who says, haha, Joey Mineo, kak. You are Android and I am iOS. I have Apple, like everything. I have a Mac, I have an iPhone, I have an iPad. Dude, you're the one with the PC and and I don't know what else you have. So yeah, see, the war's already started. And Man Patria saying Lewis looks like Robert Lewandowski?
Robert Lewin. Who's that?
L-E-W-A-N
The footballer.
D-O-W-S-K-I.
Is he the footballer? I think he plays for.
I don't know. I don't watch football. So yeah.
Me neither, but okay, I can sort of see it.
All right.
Hey, there's a resemblance.
All right. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for watching. Louis, is there anything you want to say in closing?
No, I mean, like he said, it's not we're not bashing the app. It's actually decent from a usability point of view. I
I'm
mean,
bashing
the
it.
screens
Don't be
and
humble. I'm bashing it. I'll bash it for you, but I'm bashing. I'll bash it all I want, but I know you're not.
great. I'm trying to be objective, but obviously I've got serious concerns about the security. The app is good from a usability point of view. It's neat. It's well designed. But I mean, we are going to dig in and see what goes on below the surface. And I think if we can even look into the exposure notifications framework, then that will be a win as well.
Fantastic. Sorry, I was mid inhale there. Louis, thank you so much for joining me on my channel. I'll watch the episode with you and Carter, and then I'll see if there's anything. If I have any further questions, maybe we'll also do a follow up on this. But also happy to talk about anything else that you might be passionate about or want to talk about on this channel. You're more than welcome to come back again and we can have a chat. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope the viewers did too. So ladies and gentlemen, those of you that are new to my channel, please consider subscribing. Give this a like, and if you enjoyed it, give it a share. But once again, I will give those links just after the show in the description, so you should be able to find them there in the next few minutes. So yeah, once again, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Louis, and don't go anywhere, Louis. Don't go anywhere. So ladies and gentlemen, I will be back.
Did I win something?
Maybe. So it depends. Did you read the T's and C's before you came on the show? No, then you don't. I'm sorry. But ladies and gentlemen, I will be back here tomorrow evening for Funny You Should Say That. We're going to be chatting with Marabane, or better known as Robert Dugan. He will be on the show along with a panel of comedians where we'll be talking about what is right wing. We're going to be discussing that and maybe getting a bit of a history lesson. So please join us for that show tomorrow evening at 8:30. And if I don't see you then, stay safe, be kind to one another, and I'll see you at the next one. Cheers. Hey guys, so if you enjoyed the show, please consider giving it a like and a share. Don't forget to subscribe as well if you're new to my channel. And if you really enjoyed the content, feel free to join and become a member. Don't forget about my fight against cancel culture. That's in the link in the description below. Support my fight against cancel culture. Go to that link and all the information is there. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching.